Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Live. Got my timer going, and as I'm just about finished with the second crack book. That's funny. If you want to know about crack, read Joseph Chilton Pearce, Crack in the Cosmic Egg and Exploring the Crack in the Cosmic Egg. It's all about crack. It'll crack you up. Literally. So anyway, last night and yesterday morning, and as if you're following me, and I hope you do, you'll notice that this is a work in progress. I don't come with a finished product here. I come with a discovery. And so I'm sharing my discovery with you. And the title of this talk, and I just write the title when I turn the iPad on. I say, well, what's the title? And I type it in. And the title of this talk is Let It, capital letters, I-T, Let It Breathe You. Let It Breathe You. And I was reading in Crack towards the end. You see, the book is old. The covers have come off. And so he was talking about the Zen and the archery. There was a book written, The Art of Art. I forgot the title of it. The Art of Archery. Archery is a Zen practice where they use an ancient bow, and the master. And it's very difficult to. It's very difficult to, and I've never seen it, but it's very difficult to pull the bow and to thread the arrow and all that. But the master pulls the bow and shoots the arrow and hits the target in the dark, and then puts another arrow in the arrow effortlessly. I had a friend of mine. I used to have a dart. I need to put it back up. I have a dartboard, and I had a friend of mine who was, I thought was was kind of like a little bit of a Zen master. He designed my Buddha pond, and he could just take wire and what would you like? And I would say a donkey, and he would talk to me and make a donkey out of wire, and also, he was good at darts. And I would work and work and work at the dart, and he would just come in and go, boop, and wipe me out, So he was kind of, I thought that reminded me of Zen Archery, Zen darts. And perhaps we know people. Basketball, these YouTubes of basketball, where somebody just stands in the middle of the room and just keeps shooting them, hoop, 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 hoop. That's Zen Archery. And I think with basketball and all sports, they call it in the zone, is when the sport breathes you. You let the sport breathe you. Or mountain climbing. There seems to be a threshold where you let the mountain breathe you. And you just go right up the mountain. And then we look at it on YouTube and it looks like, my God, it's a miracle. What's going on? Well, there's a surrender here. It's like there's a threshold when I'm doing it to letting it do me. And I think I have a friend of mine plays the piano, and he just sits down and he lets the piano play him. He lets the music play him, and he's kind of amazed at it, And this talk has been my Zen. I'd say Zen Live, but I really have not. I'm still discovering the implications of that, and that this is kind of like the Zen bow, and I just pull the talk back and let it go. I just have a title, the topic, Let It Breathe You. There's the target, and I just pull the talk back and let it go, you see. No notes. I have no idea what I don't know how we're going to go with this, you see. And I was last night, and I've been, this is funny now, because I get these, I got a hair I need to get out of my nose. I keep wanting to, my whole life, and I think we understand this, but we want the rational mind that wants to be the doer. We are enculturated. We're acculturated to be the doer in our society. Well, you got to do something. You got to make a plan. You got to do something. You got to protect yourself. You got to ensure your retirement. You got to do something. Don't just sit there. Don't let other people do it. Don't let the government do it. You got to do something. So this religion of the doer is all powerful in our culture, and it's all about prediction and control and reproduction. So if you do something, you make a beautiful cup there, you ought to make a business out of that. Or, look at that, whatever people can do that seems to be unique, right away someone do that, you ought to make a business out of that. You ought to do that. We got to thinking, wow, I should control this thing. I should bottle it. Everybody's about bottling something. Somebody lets it do them, and right away, the rational mind comes in, bottle it, make some money out of it, reproduce it. You make a beautiful little cheap hamburger, bottle it, make McDonald's out of it. Wow, you see. Multiply it, get rich, sit back and take it easy. You see the force of that? So when anybody discovers, and usually by tripping and falling into it, because you can't create by effort the Zen Archery. You can't create by effort it breathing you. You discover it, you fall into it. It's an accident. Just a moment of it breathing you, and it's transformative. Wow, where did that come from? Wow, and then right away, I need to reproduce it. That's what any kind of spiritual experience is a it breathes you moment. And immediately we want to reproduce it, bring it back, bottle it, put it on the shelf for a rainy day. You see? And if you look at the American culture, it's a shelf full of bottles, businesses, moments where it breathed you, bottled, and created into a business and sold through advertising. Then the product, you see, is advertised as, if you want it to breathe you, buy this product. If you want it to breathe you, buy this product, you see, and it will breathe you. So what is this it breathing you? You see, now the it is a great word because it's fill in the blank. God breathes you, the devil breathes you, your angel breathes you, whatever, we fill in the blank, you see. All of religion is about God breathing you. The Lord's Prayer. Thy will be done on heaven and earth. That means let thy will, which is God's breath, breathe me. He breathes in heaven. I want him to breathe me in earth. How can my will get in alignment with God, you see? How can God breathe me? Well, even just that question right there prevents God from breathing you. You see? Because you can't try to do it. You can't try to make God breathe you. You can't try to be a Zen archer and get the bow to breathe you. You can't try to make the bow breathe you. When you are being breathed by the bow, by your art, there is no division. There is no ambiguity. There is no you doing something. And this blows the American cultural paradigm right out of the water. Because the American paradigm, as you notice, we've been talking about this, is a split in wholeness. So what if in Eckhart Tolle's teaching, instead of the it, he says now, the power of now, which means, in this other context, the power of it. So he's constantly teaching on how to let now breathe you, or it breathe you, which is all very Christian. How do you surrender to God? Surrender, in all of the teachings of Jesus, is about this surrender of effort to do something. And why can't we just do that? Because we don't trust there's anything there. We can't surrender to chaos. Nature is chaotic. You got to control it and predict it, you see. Can't surrender to it. In Joseph Campbell's study of the Arthurian romances, one of my favorite points he makes out is when Sir Percival, the Grail Knight, the one with the pure heart, is going to they're all going on. The Arthurian tale starts with, the Grail story starts with the knights sitting around the round table, and a hologram of the Grail appears before them. Whoa, 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 whoa. And they all say, we have to quest for that. That's our quest. So they all set off to quest for the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is wholeness. The Holy Grail is unambiguous. So it's the Holy Grail is it. So when we drink from the Holy Grail is drinking us. The Holy Grail is breathing us, you see. So maybe the Holy Grail is life. Maybe I want life to breathe me instead of me trying to breathe life. Take credit for it, you see. So anyway, the knights set off, and they all go into the forest where no path lies. The pathless path. There is no path to the Holy Grail. You have to create it. And so Sir Percival gets on his horse, and he drops the reins to the horse and lets the horse lead him on the quest. Well, Campbell points out that is a surrender to your nature. That is a surrender to letting the horse breathe you. The horse is a metaphor for life. Let your life breathe you instead of you breathing life. Instead of you trying to control and predict life. Surrender and let the moment breathe you. Let the moment be you. And this is all the spiritual teachings, and even the teachings of Jesus, if we understand it that way, is basically letting the moment, and then we could fill in the blank and say God, but then that creates a duality, you see. There's a problem right there. If I say, well, let God breathe me, already I got me and God's going to do me, but I'm separate from God. But when it breathes you, there is no separation in the breathing. That's the whole point, is to get surrendering my sense of me as a doer. And it's impossible to do in our cultural context, the matrix which creates a sense of separate me, you see. So our culture creates the sense of you as a consumer. So you can buy stuff that will do you. Doesn't that crack you up? It cracks me up, you see. It's really a very... So anyway, we're trying to look at... And so then last night, getting back to whatever. So I get a lot of these emails, and I've been curious about creating an online course, and there are a lot of lot of web consultants or coaches that will tell you how to create an email or an internet course. If you can do something, if there is anything where it does you, it might be, quilting or whatever, where it breathes you, make a course out of it, reproduce it, bottle it, put it on the internet shelf, and be a coach or an instructor, and the money will come in. So I've been, I come here with you and I let this talk breathe me. So it breathes me. I should bottle this. I should make a course out of this. So, there's this rational mind. There's this predict and control. I'll make a business out of that, you see. That's all. Well, maybe I should. How should I do that? And so even last night, and I think yesterday morning, I was saying, that this is what I do here, and if you would like to enter into a insight dialogue with me, and let the dialogue breathe us, well, then message me, and we'll see what happens, you see. But even there, I began to see, wow, even that I'm trying to bottle it. I'm trying to reproduce it and control it. And here's the thing, when you try to control it breathing you, it goes away. When you try to bottle God, he goes away. When you try to bottle it, we'll just leave it with it. When you try to bottle it, you see, it suffocates. You can't reproduce it. You can't control it. It's like bottling love. Try to bottle romance. We all try to do that. We have a romance is when love breathes you, and a couple are breathed by love. Oh, but then as soon as they try to bottle it, as soon as they try to control it, as soon as they try to do it, it goes away. Then they're, oh, where did the romance go? Oh, well, I'll read Harlequin romance and I'll vicariously remember lost romance. My mother-in-law was, I don't say addicted, but she loved Harlequin romances, and when we moved in here, the whole house was walled with books. She couldn't throw any away. So, basically, lost love. The lost memory when it breathed you. It doesn't have to be a romance. It could be the promise. The promise of life breathing you is lost when we become members of a culture that denies that potential. Oh, you can't do that. You got to do it. You got to put your name on it. You've created that art, put your name on it. You did it. But the artist says, I didn't do it. The art did me. The Congressional Medal of Honor. He's in a situation where the situation does him. And it's heroic. And he comes back and they put a medal on him. And he feels kind of guilty. He says, well, I really didn't do anything. I didn't do it. It did me. I don't know what happened. I can't reproduce it. Unless you're Audie Murphy. So he was a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, and he reproduced it in movies. So anyway, so the idea here is let it breathe you. Now the practice of Zen, the practice of Eckhart Tolle, the practice of all of these non-dual traditions is basically trying to figure out how to let it breathe you. And that's the paradox, you see. We're trying to figure out how to stop figuring out. I'm trying to control myself into giving up control. I'm trying to prepare for giving up preparation. I'm trying to predict how to give up prediction. You see the catch-22, the paradox here? You see? Because in our culture, we're in time. So we feel a split. We feel like I and the doer. You see, I'm doing the thing, the I and the me and the object. Subject and the object is split by time. I got to get to it. How long is it going to take me to get to it breathing you? 10 minutes, 2 years, 20 years, 80 years? 80 years? People say I'm 80. I say 80. So when it breathes you is not, if you put it in the future, you're never going to get there. Because it breathing you is always now. You see, always now, you see. So it's kind of like we're chasing now. We put it in the future and I got to run to it. And that gap here, that split between now and tomorrow is the cause of our discontent, is the cause of our suffering. Our quiet desperation, our angst, our anxiety, our dread, our feeling that something's wrong. What is it? Oh, Obama did it. No, Trump did it. Who's trying to take away my freedom? Who's trying to prevent me from it breathing you? You can't get freedom. Freedom breathes you, you see. You can't breathe freedom. You can't get to freedom. Freedom breathes you. When it breathes you, that's total freedom. You're free from being the doer. You're free from having to do anything. Oh, we still do stuff. I don't mean that. You still got to catch a bus and you got to go to Walmart. But the primary process is freedom. The primary process is letting life do you with absolute trust that life will do you. Or God will do you. But the problem with that, again, is that it separates you from it. So you get into groups that affirm you. We get into groups that back scratch. Oh yes, we're all saved. We're all saved. They're not saved, but we're all saved. You see. Well, my little timer rang, and I hope you enjoyed it breathing us. You see. So anyway, I'll see you this evening at martini time. We'll let a martini breathe us.